name's Peter Parfitt, and in the next few minutes I'm going to be telling you about Festool's Surfix System, and it's their system for finishing wooden surfaces. I've got the complete kit here inside the sustainer. Let's take a look inside. Now when you unpack the sustainer, this is what you find. You have this storage tin which is used to keep the oil dispenser in when it's not in use. Now the oil dispenser has a bottle of oil attached to it. You have, in the complete kit, 3 of these 0.3 litre containers of oil. You'll have 1 container with heavy duty outdoor oil, used for garden furniture, gates, benches and so on. You'll have a bottle of heavy duty indoor oil for wooden kitchen worktops, oak dining room tabletops, anything that's going to get a lot of wear. And you have a light duty indoor oil which is used for things like wardrobe shelving, the sides of furniture and so on. Each of the bottles has associated with it a plastic stopper. You'll see more of that in a minute. Now the dispenser itself has a stick fix surface and a little retaining system for the oil bottles. The stick fix surface is designed to take these sponge pads which have stick fix coating on the back, and there are a total of 6 pads, including that one, in the kit. You also get 20 sanding discs. There are 10 180 grit Rubins, and there are 10 240 grit Brilliant 2 discs. And both of those are 150mm diameter, and that means they're suitable for either the ETS 150 or the Rotex 150. You also get 5 of these green Vlies, and these are used for polishing in the oil shortly after it's been applied. That's 150mm in diameter. And you also get 5 of these polishing cloths, again 150mm in diameter. And I'll be demonstrating how you can use both polishing cloths and the Vlies on smaller sanders. So that's a complete kit. It has instructions and of course the sustainer. Well, I finally decided to redo this gluing table and varnishing table of mine, and I've sanded it down and it's got quite a nice smooth finish, and I'm going to use the indoor heavy on this, which I've got already in this container. Give it a jolly good shake, put the applicator top in like so, put it in place, and then remove the little green stopper, and away we go. And it's dead easy to apply. You give it a little squirt to get some on there, and you just start rubbing it in. And after a while you'll find that the sponge pad gets fairly well soaked, and it becomes easier and easier and easier. And look, no gloves, no mess. Well, there we go, that's the first coat on, and I'm going to leave this for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to come back to it using one of the Vlies, and we'll give it a rub over and rub that oil in. Now, someone asked me the other day, what do you do if you arrive on site and you've left your big sander behind? Well, it's dead simple. You see if somebody else has got a sander, because I'm now going to demonstrate to you, you can take one of the Festool sanding Vlies and put it onto any old sander. And just to prove the point, I'm going to just redo this table using this old Bosch sander. Well, that seemed to work pretty well. It's of course the Festool Vli that's doing the actual work, and so yeah, that's done a good job. I'm pleased with that. This is the second coat. Well, considering this is over a square metre of Iroko, it's not taken very long at all. I know I will have edited this video so you don't have to watch the whole lot, but even so, that's a pretty quick process. And using this method of applying it, it's pretty mess free really. Of course, the trick with any oiling process is to make sure it goes on evenly and in sufficient quantity. But it's also important to make sure that you don't put too much on and leave it in one place, because you then get some uneven dark patches occurring. And although they do settle down in time, it's still undesirable, particularly if you're trying to finish something off ready to hand over to a customer when they walk into their brand new kitchen or whatever it might be the following day. So what you need is something that comes up fairly quickly, is hassle-free, and is going to be able to guarantee you consistent quality every time. That looks pretty good. I'm going to leave that for 15 minutes and then buff it off. And look, clean hands. And I'm just finishing off with this lint-free cloth, and that feels really nice. I'm pleased with that. I think most people know that I make a lot of boxes, and things like this are my sort of stock in trade. And what I'm going to do now is just show you this latest little box I'm making. It's a box designed to hold a ceremonial cake cutting knife. And so I thought I'd demonstrate to you how you can use the Surfix oils to do quite small projects. You don't have to use the sponge and applicator. You can actually either put it on with a rag or with a brush. And I'm going to show you that now.
Right, I've just finished sanding it, and I'm now shaking the bottle, and I'm going to apply the first coat of oil. And it's important when you do this to remember, of course, the end grains. End grains show off your woodwork, so you get those right. And once I've finished applying the oil, I'll wait 15 minutes and then give it a buff off with a sanding Vly, and that's done with my Rotex 90.
That didn't take long with this small piece. That surface looks very nice and smooth and consistent. Yeah, I think I'm very pleased with that. Yeah, that's good. Hey look, I've just been given a Father's Day card. Katie, thank you very much. It's really kind of you. Well, that's it for this one. I'm really pleased with this. The finish is beautiful. It's the indoor light. I used 2 coats, and there we go. This is the box in which my daughter will keep the knife that will be used to cut her wedding cake. Beautiful. Right, now this piece of oak started as a bare piece of wood. I sanded it down to 180 grit, and then I've applied 3 coats of the Festool Surfix indoor heavy product. And the reason I went for 3 coats is that I managed to find on the Festool website a PDF file that says, if necessary, use 3 coats. And so I want this to have the very best starting point. I've done everything precisely the way that Festool recommend, and I'm now going to put it to the test. And I have here some red wine, which I've just poured out of a bottle, and I'm going to put some on the bottom of this bottle, like so. And I've got a couple of drips which are going to be on there as well. And there's the bottle with a wet bottom. And also I'm going to put a splodge of ketchup on there, and we'll see. No, I'm not going to lick my finger. We'll see what that's like after 7 hours. Right, so this is the moment of truth now. This red wine bottle with its wet bottom has been on this piece of wood now for 7 hours, as has the ketchup stain. So let me just get rid of that. Right, there is no sign whatsoever of where the ketchup has been, and there is just a tiny bit of an indication of where the red wine's been. Not the ring of the bottle, but just a couple of the big drips that were to the side. It's only a tiny bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry for a minute, because I've just wetted it, and we'll see what we can do to repair that. So what you're looking at is that's a knot, as is that there as well, and there's a tiny shade of red wine here. And what I've got is this sanding disc of the Brilliant 2 that I'd used earlier. It's almost lost its life, but I'm going to just rub it in like so. I'm then going to get out of here my trusty rag, give that a wipe, and I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but that now is repaired. So, if you have a disaster, it is repairable. Right, this is my outdoor project. It's a garden bench. It's really old, it's been outside in the weather for years. I've already sanded it down to 120. That's all this surface deserves. And I'm going to put the outdoor heavy on it. And I'm going to give it 2 coats. Well, that bench has turned out extremely well after 2 coats of the outdoor heavy. I'm delighted. So Surfix really is geared up to the application of oil onto larger flat surfaces. It's a clean way of putting oil on. When I applied the second coat to that outdoor bench, I was actually wearing my best clothes. I was on the way to an appointment, I had 5 minutes to spare, and so I popped over to the workshop, applied that second coat, and off I went. And with no problem whatsoever. You've seen how easy it was to use the indoor light, applying it by hand on that box, and I'm very pleased with that finish as well. The indoor heavy, which I've used on this Sirocco worktop, has done really well in that situation, and I followed the Festool instructions on their website and applied 3 coats of the indoor heavy on this piece of oak. And then you saw how it was not that difficult to repair just a little bit of wine staining that we had up in this corner here. Well, I've been using the Surfix system for a number of days now, and I'm pretty sure I understand the Festool philosophy. They've created a self-contained, easily transportable system that when you get to your job site, you'll have a clean and easy method of applying oil, whether it's in an indoor or an outdoor application. Now, when you're following the Festool Surfix instructions, there are lots of different steps in the process, and you have to remember this. You've got to first of all sand, then you apply the oil, then after 15 minutes you go over it with a green fly, then you leave it for 6 to 8 hours, then you give it a light sand, then you give it more oil, and so the process goes on. So you need to make sure you allow for all those various steps. Now those steps do not take long, but you do need to make sure you follow them correctly. And if you're thinking of buying a Surfix system and you don't have either the ETS 150 or the Rotex 150, fear not, because I think I've now demonstrated that you can use different size sanders, even borrowing one from a workmate if you arrive on site without your own. And you can always cut the green and white flies to suit your Rotex 90, as I've done, and it works perfectly well. Well, this wouldn't be a Festool review without me criticising their instructions, and so here's a bit of light relief. The order quantity must be defined in advance per trial order. Empirical values depending on the suction capacity of the wood, 20 to 40 grams. Or try this for the indoor light. Not suitable for hard-wearing surfaces such as kitchen worktops, carpets and flooring. Oh well. Well, I've enjoyed doing this review of Surfix. I hope you've learnt a lot. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.